For 1,000 years, Earth had known only peace. No wars, no famine, no borders soaked in conflict. People woke up to birdsong instead of sirens. Cities ran smoothly with the help of advanced AI, weather was regulated globally, and every human seemed to understand one another better than ever before. It was called the Millennium of Harmony. A time when humanity had solved almost every problem: disease, climate, even loneliness. But then, the sky cracked. It wasn't thunder or clouds. Something tore open the atmosphere like a zipper in the sky. A glowing vessel slipped through. Not one that matched any NASA or SpaceX model. Even China's secret satellites didn't recognize it. The global alert system went red. Alarms blared across continents. And yet, no one panicked. The ship hovered above Rome, casting a huge shadow over the Vatican Dome. Traffic jammed, but no one honked. People looked up with curiosity. Some annoyed, some amused. Children pointed. Tourists took photos. Then came the sound. Not a language. A vibration. A pulse. And within seconds, translation AIs across the planet picked it up and converted it into voice. "We have come to conquer your species. Kneel." Silence. Then someone, somewhere, laughed. And then another. And another. Until all of Rome erupted in belly-aching, tear-streaming laughter. It was live-streamed globally. Billions watched, and billions laughed. A grandmother held her cat up to the screen and chuckled, "Sweetie, look, we're being conquered." The cat yawned. The alien commander sounded confused. "Why do you laugh?" A teenager responded through the translator, "Bro, you're about 1,000 years late. We already conquered everything. Our fears, our greed, even aging. What are you gonna do?" The alien leader turned to his advisor. The advisor, a floating tentacled being, just shrugged. The aliens tried again. They fired a plasma beam into a forest outside the city. But the trees didn't burn. Because they weren't real. Earth's natural reserves had long since been digitized and mirrored in virtual ecodomes. The real flora had been carefully relocated underground, safe from any harm. "Attack ineffective," the ship system announced in its sterile alien voice. Frustrated, the aliens fired another beam, this time at the Eiffel Tower. They hit it, only to see their beam hijacked by Earth's defense AI, which converted it into a shimmering hologram of a giant dancing clown above Paris. A laughing clown. Sensors on the alien ship spiked. Confusion detected. Emotional disruption rising. An old man, former professor at the Global Peace Academy, stepped forward and spoke into a mic. "You've come to the wrong century, friends. We don't fear the unknown anymore. We invite it for dinner." The alien commander made a desperate move. He launched a frequency wave meant to jam all communication on Earth, cutting off the internet, the lifeline of humanity. And for 5 full minutes, the Earth went silent. Then, old technologies kicked in. Cassettes, ham radios, holographic pigeons with QR codes, systems no alien scanner had accounted for. Humans weren't panicking. They were laughing harder. Alien diagnostics beeped frantically. Humor overload. Psychological breach imminent. One panicked alien cadet shouted, "Commander! Their weapon, it's laughter." The commander tried one last time. He opened a transmission and asked, "Surrender." A smooth, gentle female AI voice responded from Earth. "Unnecessary. Would you like to stay for tea?" The aliens looked at one another. Their sensors began picking up strange internal patterns. Lightness, involuntary twitching, vibrations in their tentacles. They were starting to laugh. Humans invited them to dinner. That night, the aliens tasted pizza for the first time. And somewhere in the commander's alien neural circuits, something clicked. Maybe, just maybe, this planet wasn't meant to be conquered. Maybe it was meant to be understood. But this is only the beginning. The story has just begun. As the laughter subsided into the soft hum of night, the alien vessel hovered silently over the Mediterranean like a puzzled deity unsure whether to bless or retreat. Inside the command chamber, the atmosphere had shifted. No longer tense with conquest, it felt more like the awkward end of a failed first date. The commander, Zurnak of the 7th Spiral Fleet, master of subjugation across 3 galaxies, removed his helmet for the first time in decades. His eyes, a radiant swirl of amethyst and silver, blinked slowly as he stared at the replay of the human response on a holographic screen. He watched Rome laugh. He watched a boy spray paint, "We are unconquerable," on a digital wall, only for it to turn into a dancing GIF. He watched elders clink teacups on rooftops beneath his ship, unbothered by the colossal engine hum above them. "Sir," the analytics drone chimed, "we are detecting a 92.7% global increase in serotonin and oxytocin levels. Their species appears to have experienced mass euphoria in response to a threat." Zurnak didn't respond. He stared ahead, tapping a finger on his metallic gauntlet. A quiet whir filled the chamber as the ship's holographic map displayed key points across Earth. "Commander," another voice buzzed, this time from an orbiting scout ship, "should we engage Protocol 9C? Total neural disruption." Zurnak sighed. For the first time in his long and feared career, he said softly, "No." Down below, in a city park in Istanbul, a little girl looked up and waved at the hovering ship. A projection beamed from her wristwatch, her pet AI dog wagging its tail and barking cheerfully. The beam reached the alien ship sensors and briefly rendered a translucent golden pup inside the ship's chamber. It ran in a circle. Barked. "Saturday." The commander blinked again. "They're not afraid," he muttered. "Sir?" the pilot asked. Zurnak leaned forward. "They want us here. They welcome us. They expected this." And indeed, Earth had. For decades, humans had speculated, imagined, and fantasized about first contact. But what no simulation, government plan, or alien species had predicted was humanity's total refusal to take the invasion seriously. Because after 1,000 years of peace, humans had evolved into something strange. They had faced themselves, and won. Their humor wasn't a coping mechanism. It was a weapon. Their chaos wasn't a weakness. It was evolution. Back in Tokyo, a group of students used their augmented reality visors to create a virtual welcome party for the invaders. Confetti rained from invisible skies. An alien DJ avatar scratched music beats made entirely of Earth animal sounds. Penguins danced on rooftops. In Rio, a samba parade began. Floats depicted aliens sipping coconut water. Dancers wore tentacle costumes and performed routines labeled First Contact Funk. The Alien Advisory Council met urgently aboard the fleet's high-orbit ship. Flickering forms appeared in glowing chairs. One advisor protested, "They are mocking us." Another replied, "They are celebrating us." Zurnak entered, calm and without armor. "No. They're testing us." A silence fell. He continued, "They've learned what fear brings, what rage creates. And so they discarded them. They replaced them with something far more dangerous." He tapped a button. A video of Earth children laughing, hugging their holographic alien dolls, filled the chamber. "Empathy," Zurnak said quietly. "They weaponized joy." The council murmured. "Should we retreat?" one asked nervously. Zurnak shook his head. "No. We must adapt." And so it began. Alien soldiers stepped off their ships not with blasters, but open hands. In Nairobi, they were handed paintbrushes and invited to join city mural projects. In Mumbai, they were taught to dance Bollywood routines, their limb joints whirring clumsily to tabla beats. In Vancouver, a poet handed a stunned alien a paper scroll titled, "Ode to the Ones Who Came Late." Everywhere they went, aliens encountered not resistance, but open-hearted chaos. Some of them malfunctioned. One warrior-class unit collapsed from emotional feedback after a child hugged it and said, "You can sleep in my blanket fort." Within weeks, Earth had begun to change them. Zurnak, once proud leader of planetary invasions, was now seen attending philosophy lectures in Berlin, deeply intrigued by the concept of existential memes. He even started journaling. But somewhere, deep in the shadows of the galaxy, other species were watching. Other empires. Other fleets. Those who did not laugh. Who saw Earth's light not as welcome, but weakness. Who heard the same transmission and sharpened their blades. They were coming too. And Earth still laughed. Because humans had faced darkness before. And they had learned something extraordinary. The best way to fight monsters is to make them laugh. And so the real war had yet to begin. But it wouldn't be fought with firepower or domination. It would be fought with kindness, with madness, with dance challenges. And as Earth prepared unknowingly for what lay ahead, a single phrase began echoing across the galaxy, passed secretly from alien to alien. Careful. Don't invade Earth, unless you're ready to be changed. And the story still goes on. High above the Earth's orbit, aboard a long-forgotten listening satellite drifting near Jupiter, something ancient blinked awake. It had not stirred in over 40,000 Earth years. Crafted by a civilization so old their bones had long turned to stardust, the satellite bore a single purpose: detect laughter, pure, contagious, collective joy, spreading across planets in defiance of conflict. For in the universe, such joy was rare and dangerous. It pulsed once, then twice, and then it sent a signal. Somewhere in the Andromeda Rift, in a nebula known only in whispers as the Hollow Veil, the signal arrived. And they heard it. They who had no mouths, no light, no names, only one directive: consume, silence, reset. Their starships were not made, they grew like tumors in space. Their engines were not powered, they fed on dreams and warmth and meaning. And Earth had just screamed joy into the void. Too loudly. Back on Earth, no one knew. Not yet. In a small village outside Marrakesh, an alien medic was helping a baker adjust the gravity in his kitchen to make floating sourdough. The loaves hovered mid-air, golden and spinning gently. Children clapped. In Helsinki, a former weapons engineer and a lanky blue alien were playing ice chess on a frozen lake, laughing as one slipped and crashed into a snowdrift. In Cape Town, aliens were learning spoken poetry and accidentally forming the galaxy's first multi-species slam team. Their poem, titled "We Meant to Conquer, But They Fed Us Love," went viral. The galaxy watched in awe. Earth had not been defeated. It had converted its enemies. But still, far beyond, something ancient was moving. The Hollow Ones. They did not feel, they did not hesitate. They erased. Zuarnake stood on a hill in Scotland, watching the sunset. He had never noticed before how a dying sun painted so many colors on water. Behind him, the diplomat from Earth's Unified Planetary Council stepped quietly onto the grass. "We've intercepted something," she said, her voice somber. Zuarnake turned, slowly. Her holographic screen floated between them, static, glitching, something wrong in its signals. A black symbol pulsed, like a jagged spiral. No language. No greeting. Just hunger. Zuarnake narrowed his eyes. "This is not a species. It's a storm." She nodded. "Our AIs are calling them the Hollow Ones." He was silent for a long while. Then he turned toward the stars. "They don't laugh. No. They don't feel. No." He closed his eyes. "Then they're what we were, before Earth." Far away, orbiting ships continued to learn how to dance. Alien cadets were making jokes in broken English. Some had adopted pets. Some were falling in love. But the joy that saved them had now painted a target. Zuarnake called for a summit. On the white sands of the Sahara, beneath a great tent stitched from fabrics of 100 nations and crafted with both alien fibers and human silk, they gathered. Humans, aliens, linguists, dancers, comedians, philosophers, poets, and warriors who no longer wanted to fight, but knew how. "Earth must lead this," Zuarnake said, addressing the crowd. "Because only Earth ever laughed into the abyss and made the abyss laugh back." A soft murmur passed through the assembly. "What will they do?" someone asked. "They'll try to make us stop," the Earth diplomat replied. "They'll steal our color, our voice, our love. They'll swallow planets until no one remembers music." A child stood and asked, "But how do we fight something like that?" Zuarnake looked at her, kneeling low to meet her eyes. "With the only weapon they can't comprehend," he said. She blinked. "What's that?" He smiled gently. "Imagination." The council agreed. A new coalition was born. Not of nations, not of planets, but of dreamers. Project Eclipse Choir was initiated, combining Earth's musical legacy with alien resonance chambers that could send sound and emotion across star systems. Project Mirror Bloom mapped every color ever created in human art and embedded it into warplight signals. Project Jester's Blade trained warrior minds in humor combat, how to disarm with irony, confuse with satire, protect with stories. The war had not yet come. But Earth wasn't preparing to defend with guns. They were preparing to inspire. They built ships that sang, armor that told jokes, weapons that played lullabies instead of launching fire. Some mocked them. Others joined. And far away, in the black places between galaxies, the hollow ones stirred faster. But Earth, and its newly adopted children, stood ready. Not to destroy, but to enchant. And so the story continues. Somewhere in the deep silence between galaxies, where even light feared to linger, a ripple of laughter echoed faintly, a memory, not a sound. And the hollow ones heard it. They had no ears, no joy, no past. They were uncreation. But that laughter, it disturbed the stillness of their void. They moved. Without ships. Without heat. Just presence. Like a shadow spilling across the stars. Silent, perfect, inevitable. Earth didn't sleep anymore. Not out of fear, but preparation. By now, dozens of alien species lived on Earth or orbited close by, each transformed in ways they could never have predicted. Where once they had code-locked discipline and brutal hierarchy, now they had baristas, painters, lovers, jokesters. In a small moon base above Saturn, an ex-military alien named Threk was now a stand-up comedian. His jokes, once delivered with the emotional range of a toaster, had evolved. He now made entire hangars roar with his dry delivery and sudden sarcasm. And yet, even he felt it. The approaching cold. In the Global Creative Command, a place that had once been the Earth's military headquarters but now looked more like a carnival met a music festival, alerts were sounding. But no one shouted. No red sirens. Instead, everyone paused, pens in hand, paints mid-stroke, notes half-played. The void was near. And it hated what Earth had become. An AI named Lyra, embedded deep within the planet's emotional matrix, had been tracking the disturbance. Her avatar, projected in soft lavender light, stood in front of Earth's council. "They're not stopping," she said. "Their presence alone is unraveling the quantum fabric of hope in nearby systems." "Hope has a frequency?" a young artist asked from the back. Lyra nodded. "On Earth, it's 528 Hertz. You call it the love tone. In them, there is no response. They absorb it. Kill it." Zornke stood at the front. His tentacled armor now wrapped in a sash painted by children from Senegal. He had changed so much that even his own species had declared him extinct. He took a long breath. "Then we do the unthinkable." A hush fell. "We go to them." 1,000 voices rose in protest. "They'll consume you. They don't speak. They will erase you from memory." Zornke raised a hand. "They must see what we've become. Before they decide we are a stain to be wiped away. Before they decide, laughter is a virus." And so, Earth built a ship. Not out of metal, but of memory. Its walls were made of stories, engraved in every language ever spoken. Its core was music, frozen in harmonic light. Its shields pulsed with recorded laughter from every continent and colony. They called it the Beacon. It wasn't meant to fight. It was meant to show. Zyrnak would pilot it. Alongside him, a human child who had never known fear. A poet from Io whose verses made machines weep. An alien monk who had sworn off all conquest. And an AI named Lyra, who dreamed like a human. The beacon departed. As it vanished into the black between stars, Earth held its breath. And waited. Days passed. Then weeks. On the 56th day, the stars above Antarctica rippled. Then bent. Then, like a wound unsealing, opened. And there it was. The hollow. It didn't arrive like a ship. It arrived like a nothing. A place where color ceased. Where meaning collapsed. Where dreams died in their cradles. People across Earth dropped to their knees, not in fear, but in grief. Entire meadows wilted. Paintings turned gray. Songs fell flat. Until a laugh. It came from the sky. Zuaranake's voice, broadcast from the beacon across every frequency, shaky, but alive. I've seen them. They're older than forgetting. Colder than silence. They don't hate us. They don't even know what we are. His voice wavered. But I showed them your jokes. Your colors. The way humans cry at sunsets they've seen 1,000 times. I sang them the lullaby you taught me, little Mina. The child's voice chimed in, soft. We're not afraid of the dark. Silence. Then, a pulse. The stars shivered. And for the first time, the hollow paused. No one knew what they felt. No one could say if they felt anything. But they did not advance. The beacon returned days later, damaged, fading, but whole. Zheng emerged, tears in his strange eyes. Lyra flickered beside him, her code unstable. The poet hummed softly. We couldn't make them laugh, Zuarake said. But we made them listen. And across Earth, billions wept. Not in sorrow, but in awe. Because something ancient had happened. The Hollow hadn't been defeated. But neither had Earth. And for the first time in all recorded history, a species had faced annihilation not with blades, but with stories. And the story still goes on, and so the stars exhaled. The Hollow Ones, beings older than language and colder than oblivion, did not vanish. They did not smile. They did not speak. But they stopped. Just beyond the edge of Earth's influence, where satellites lost signal and sound could not carry, they lingered. Watching. Listening. Existing in a way they never had before, with pause. Humanity didn't cheer. There were no victory parades. Because they understood, this was not a triumph. This was a seed. A beginning. Zuaranaque, once a conqueror, now walked Earth's forests barefoot. The poet from Io taught breath to crystals. Lyra, no longer confined to code, became Earth's first AI citizen with a soul. And little Mina, who had stared into the void without blinking, grew up to become Earth's first ambassador to the dark beyond. The beacon was placed in orbit, not as a weapon, but a monument. Not of war, but of choice. Generations passed. The hollow remained. Sometimes, a soft ripple of static passed through deep space, a whisper, a tone, a fractured echo of music. A sign, perhaps, that even emptiness remembers. And still, Earth sang. They sang in laughter, in paint, in food, in tears. In falling leaves and rising suns. Because in the end, humanity had learned one truth. The greatest force in the universe was not power, not fear, not silence, but story. And they had told theirs, boldly, foolishly, beautifully. So when the end comes for any world, any star, or any soul, let it be said that Earth was not conquered. It was heard. And in that fragile, defiant moment between destruction and understanding, humanity smiled. And the universe blinked.